Hi and welcome back. Beautiful sunny day here in the UK. Now I'm kind of returning to something I did maybe 2 months ago. I'm not sure. Just brush the dust off. So 2 months ago, roughly, I'll put a link to my review up here. But I had my first go at an Analogue Productions UHQR. Super amazing Fabo pressing, basically. They come in these wonderful boxes with all the beautiful inserts. And I put this, the 33 RPM stereo version, up against various of my others. So hang on. So my other copies that I have of this. This is a second issue, 1965 issue, in near mint condition, which sounds really good. This betters it, simple as that. Hang on, running out of places to put these. This is my first pressing 1959 mono, which is an entirely different thing, and has its own charm. I wasn't so much comparing this because, obviously we've got a stereo issue here and the mono will forever remain. And then this is, forgive my little notes down there, this is my original stereo, Deep Groove 6i stereo, which, it's the original. I'll probably always hang on to it along with the original mono as was the reference. And I kind of tend to do that really with records. My sort of holy grail, if you like, is the original first pressing in mint condition. And that's the yardstick that all reissues have to measure themselves up against. And invariably over the last, say, 40 years I've been record collecting, the original wins, hands down. It's very, very rare that a reissue would outperform a good original. There are instances, and this was one, frankly. This was better than the original, but my original is far from mint. I'll just give you a quick butcher's at that. I don't know if you can see here. It's VG minus, to be perfectly honest. The quiet passages, there's a lot of background noise, but there's little distortion in the actual music, if you know what I mean. And sort of dynamically and energetically, it plays supremely and is still the benchmark, even over the Analogue Productions at 33. So why am I making this video today? Well, because we've got something new here. Couldn't resist. So this is the 45 RPM version of the same. And you get in here, take this out, similar box, well, probably identical box to be honest. The serial number is different. I'm just going to move those off there, out the sun. So from the outside, where are we? UHQR 0004-45. It's the -45 is the thing that indicates this is different. So let me just take all this out and we'll show you what we get. So for starters, you get a slightly different book, different photos, equally gorgeous. You'd be happy with either. They're both, effectively, they're kind of the same, although they're different. In terms of quality, we've got the same kind of inserts. I'll come to the records last. Here we've got a little quality record pressings, certificate of authenticity, 25,000 copies made, clarity vinyl, Now, interestingly, one thing on Clarity vinyl, I know from watching Chad interviewed that Clarity vinyl was something that was, well, different vinyl formulations was something that were actually pioneered, perhaps is correct to say, by Classic Records, which is a company that was around in the 90s, making very high quality pressings, reissues, and Chad actually bought the company Acoustic Analogue Productions, Acoustic Sounds, bought Classic Records some time ago, and bought their metalwork and such like, which is how this comes about, as I'll get onto again in a little while. So here we are. This is the actual cover, and it's just, I mean, you know, they don't get better than this. Stout jacket. It is just beautifully produced, gloriously thick, glossy. It almost looks letterpressed. It's not, but it almost does. It really is beautiful. And obviously this is, you know, you've got 4 sides. So What, Freddie Freeloader and Blue and Green on side 2, All Blues on side 3, and Flamenco Sketches on side 4. So anyway, that's the original cover, which you could put your records into and throw the box out if you really wanted to. And then here are the records, packaged separately, which is really nice in these QRP archival sleeves, which are really similar to the Mobile Fidelity archival sleeves. Very, very, very similar and very, very lovely. No need to change those whatsoever. Here we've got side 3 here, but as you can see, there's an awful lot of run out groove. The records are clear. Okay, I keep getting sidetracked, but I will get back to that. And you've got one 45 RPM track, pretty much per side. You've got two tracks on side 2, but there we go. Now, normally 45 RPM records they're not my favourite thing because, or 45 RPM albums, because you just have to keep getting up and down and changing the sides so much, and what was considered a side when they put the record together is no longer a side anymore. And it's just, it sort of breaks up the flow of an album somewhat. But here we are, that's side 1, So What, as you can see, masses of run out groove, and then side 2, Freddie Freeloader and Blue and Green. Now, the source for this. So the source for this were the original analog master tapes, and the masters, it was cut by Bernie Grundman. But it was cut by Bernie Grundman actually back in 1999 for Classic Records, both the 33 and the 45. So they were cut from the same, obviously the same session, so really we are just comparing 33 RPM vinyl replay versus 45 RPM vinyl replay from the exact same source by the same engineer, kind of on the same day, well, not necessarily on the same day, but in the same session, you know, excuse me. I'll get onto the sound in a minute. But anyway, so negatives as far as I'm concerned is you keep having to get up and change the record, which I just find a pain in the butt. So normally, even if I've got 45 RPM cuts of albums, which I've got a few, I'll often still, my regular go-to playing copy will be the 33 original or whatever, just because it's more like the process of playing the album that I know, if you like, rather than having to jump up and down. But anyway, so these records, both these 2 copies, they were initially released by Classic Records back in 1999. So they were cut from the original master tapes by Bernie Grundman, one at 33 RPM, one at 45 RPM. The original Classic Records release of this was on 4 single-sided 45 RPM discs, which is sort of taking the fanatical record production thing, I would say, a step too far, but you know, I won't say that. I'm tempted to, but again, we'll get onto the sound quality in a minute. But it's you know, it's taking things fanatically far. I did have one of those at the time. I had the David Crosby, If Only I Remember Your Name, If Only You Could Remember My Name. And did I have one of the, did they do a CSN album? I can't remember. I think they might have done, and I might have had that too. But I wasn't knocked out. And it's kind of funny, I've got Classic Records in my sort of brain filing system, not as the pinnacle, the be-all and end-all of audiophile pressing. So anyway, these two have literally gone back to the metalwork, and they've just repressed them. So there's the only difference between these and the Classic Records issues are the pressing machines they're pressing them on at QRP, and the people who work there, and all the rest of it, and the vinyl formulation, and obviously the packing. But in terms of the sonic thing, that's the only difference. And without those absolutely here to compare, it's hard to comment. But I've got quite a few Classic Records, and they're good, but you know, they're not. I can't think of anywhere where I'm like, oh my god, that's the best I've ever heard that album by a long way. So I just got to say full marks to Chad and Analogue Productions and what they're doing here, because these do sound superb. Now I'm just going to refresh, and as I say, I have already done a review of this 33 RPM, which I'll put another link to it there. Do go and have a look. And this came out really well. But going back this morning, to listen to the 45, I went back and I replayed. I didn't bother playing the whole bunch of these, but I did play my first issue original, because it is the reference. As simple as that. XSM 47326-1AA. Not in perfect condition, but still a phenomenal sounding record. Now, I made a few notes. So you put this on. Now, this is far from pristine. So there's quite a lot of surface noise, light surface noise at the beginning of the record. And that's kind of in the plane of the speakers. So when the bass comes in, it's very far behind, and you're really aware of that sensation of depth. And then the piano kind of comes in on the left channel. It's facing you, so it'll be, but anyway, left channel, and you know, the tune gets going, and when it really kind of kicks in and the whole band joins in, you don't notice the surface noise at all. But there's something about Kind of Blue, and we'll just talk about So What, the first track to start with. So it's you've got this sort of call and response thing of the bass, and then the piano and the bass and the trumpet and bass and sax and so forth as the song progresses. But you've got a real kind of dynamic thing going on, and going from the original to this, the 33, this is kind of better. I mean, it's silence for start. There's no surface noise, so that's a massive improvement. But other than that, sonically, it's quite similar, and I mean, that's a good thing. We're saying it's quite similar to the original pressing, but it's not quite. The one area, it for me, it's sort of slightly lacks is actually in the piano. Sort of piano in a way is very slightly kind of smoothed, over filtered. And I know Bernie Grumman is a kind of an audiophile mastering engineer, which is not, as by no means all mastering engineers would call themselves that. I'm not sure Bernie would call himself that, but there's something in the sort of hi-fi world of which I've worked in for decades now. And there's this sort of fascination with noise and distortion, and I came across this recently with a record producer friend. We were sitting down listening to some stuff and comparing things, cables in fact, and cables and reel-to-reel machines, and we were kind of comparing two, and it was like one of the cables was like, yeah, it's really controlled, it's really smooth, it's really, you can hear everything, and it's probably more accurate, but we prefer the other one, you know. And it's and the other one, I won't mention names, but the other one was just sort of, it just sounded freer and looser, and more just more natural in a way, more expressive, if you like. And you know, I've worked with companies. I mean, I've worked with dozens and dozens and dozens of hi-fi companies over the decades. But it's a common thing, particularly with I mean, mains filtration, mains conditioning companies. There's so much. I don't really use any mains conditioning. I use a balanced mains transformer for my reel-to-reel machines. But I don't really use mains conditioning as such on my hi-fi system, because for that same reason, it's sort of, yeah, you can do an A/B demo. Yeah, the background's quieter. Yeah, it's sort of cleaner. Yeah, it's less distortion. But in the so doing, it's sat on the music kind of thing. And for me, in comparison with the original, and the original is kind of like a bit of a badly set up hi-fi, or moderately well set up hi-fi system without any conditioning on the mains, for instance. And this one's like a well set up hi-fi system, but with you know, a mains conditioner on the, and all the kind of noise treatments you can think of. Just used thinking more, you know, not less is more, but more is more. And it kind of just that it kills the life in the piano just slightly. Now, bearing in mind all the noise on that, I'd still rather have, if I had an original in mint condition, I would probably prefer it to the 33 UHQR. That's where we are with that. But then this one. Now, I'll just say one other thing about the 33, because I went from original to 33 to 45. Now, part of my LP preparation process before I play them, obviously everything gets cleaned initially. It doesn't get cleaned every play. Everything gets wet cleaned initially. But before play, I will put it on I've got a Furatech demagnetizer, and there's a thorny issue if there ever was one. People say, oh, how can an LP record be magnetized? And I don't think this came from Furatech. I think it came from, I don't know who it came from, but for a good few years, there's been this sort of supposition that it's the black pigment in vinyl that has got, you know, a microscopic magnetic tendency in it, and that can be magnetized. Now, if you accept that vinyl can be magnetized, it's very easy to see how that would affect an LP playback, because a cartridge is as an electromagnetic, well, a moving coil or a moving magnet cartridge is an electromagnetic kind of measurement device of extremely high sensitivity. So it's no surprise if you accept the fact that vinyl can in some way transmit, hold, whatever, a magnetic charge, that it can make a difference. Now, I went from the original, which I demagnetized, it's black, to the 33, which I didn't demagnetize because it's clarity vinyl. I just thought I won't do it this time, just out of interest, because I had my suspicion. And that effect of just sort of overly damping things was apparent on more than just the piano. It was the whole thing. And then I gave it a DMAG, and definitely there was no question it helped. So even Clarity Vinyl benefits from a DMAG. Any of you out there who've got a DMAG, a Furatech DMAG, do try it. Let me know. I mean, I'm really intrigued to know whether you hear the same. And I don't think it's a lesser degree than on a black vinyl LP either. So whatever it is we're doing there, I don't think it's actually got anything to do with the black pigment. There we go. Contentious opinion about a contentious opinion about a contentious concept in the first place. So there we go. Ignorant replies will be deleted, but I'm genuinely interested. Anyway, so we got onto the 45. Now, as I said earlier, I'm not overly keen on 45 RPM albums, and it's not for sonic reasons. It's because of the pain in the arse to keep getting up and down and breaking the flow of the album. But all of those comments I've made about the sort of the interplay between the bass and the piano and then the trumpet and the sax and all that stuff. This just blows it into another. This takes it into another realm. It's the difference between this and the 33 is way bigger than the difference between the 33 and the original. And this just walks it. It's a walk in the park. It absolutely annihilates every other version. That the piano is just absolutely released from that slightly stodgy overdampedness, and that's where it's sort of that's the first thing that you think, oh god, that's so much better. But the bass, it's where it's sort of on the other issues, it actually seems to move in space very slightly. It'll come forward and backwards in the mix. It's just rooted in the spot. Same with Mars's trumpet. It's just rooted in the same spot. It doesn't move around in space, depending on what the rest of the instruments are doing, or how hard it's being played. And that kind of dynamic, lyrical, natural, free-flowing quality of the piano is definitely there in the trumpet and the sax. The drums, the bass as well. I mean, it's right across the board. Although you don't really notice them particularly suffering so much if you played this and went back. I don't really know what more to say about this. I mean, it is just staggeringly good. I did make a few notes. I'm just going to have a quick look to see. Yeah, I mean, it is just the consistency of each player, where they are in space, the dynamic, the micro dynamic, the kind of the lyrical, expressive sort of freedom, and the way it's captured is just out of this world. It really is. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. And even with the 45 RPM thing, I honestly don't think now I'd be going back and playing any other copy, even the mono one. It's just stunning. I just want to just go through a couple of other little things in here. So I think I've shown you the book. I just wanted to go back to the vinyl, actually. It's one interesting thing. I did say these are the same. Basically, this is just repressing from the same plates as were used for the 1999 Classic Records pressing. And I noticed on the cover it says on the hype sticker, no more than 1,000 copies pressed from each stamper. So they've done 25,000. So they must have made 25 stampers, a minimum of, from the same mothers. And if you check Discogs, I mean, here we are. So what? Okay, side 1. CS 8163-C1-45 AZMO HZ, and then Bernie Grumman's signature. So basically, I mean, you can see these are it's the same matrix numbers as that 1999 Classic Records pressing. So you know, if anyone who's got one of those, the 4 single-sided LP version of this, I would be really interested to know how that compares to this. It's my experience with Classic Records. I would be surprised if it's any better. In fact, I would be surprised if it's as good, because as I said, I've got quite a few, but I've never had them sort of, you know, I've never had an experience like I've had with this. I've definitely had at least one of their 45 RPM single-sided series. I'm pretty sure it was a David Crosby album. Might have been CSN. If they did that without checking, I don't know. But I don't have it anymore because I basically never played it. It was a pain in the arse. And I didn't think it sounded that much better than the original, or necessarily even as good as the original. So, yeah, I think we got it there. I will say one thing about this. It's currently, I mean, I got this from Brook Audio, or thevinyladventure.com. I'll put a link in the description. So thevinyladventure.com, it's one of David Brook's companies of Brook Audio, MCIU. And he's currently got this for £199.95. The 33 RPM one is £175. And for that £25 difference, I mean, there is absolutely no reason I would buy the 33 RPM. Having heard them side by side, it's you know, if you can't afford that £25 difference, then I mean, this absolutely blows it apart. It's stunning. And of course, this is $200 in the States now, so with the exchange rate as it is at the moment, good grief, this is a real bargain, if you can call a £200 record a bargain. It really is. If you were going to buy this direct, and I do buy stuff direct from Acoustic Sounds, Analogue Productions, I'd buy them. Certainly, I'll buy their tapes direct, or I have been. I won't be for the foreseeable while probably the current government is in power, because I can't afford to. With the the exchange rates, and then duty, shipping, and VAT, and everything on top of that. So this being a $200 record from the States, I wouldn't mind betting it'd cost you nearly £300 by the time you've personally imported one, with all the shipping and everything else. So get yourself to thevinyladventure.com. So I'll put a link below. It is strictly, they only made 25,000 of these worldwide. It's going to sell out quickly. It's one of, if not the most popular, most accessible, most enjoyable jazz albums of all time. And this is quite simply, categorically, the best version of it you'll ever hear. And £200 doesn't sound that bad for that, does it? Really? Anyway, thank you very, very, very much for watching. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. If you like the video, please like it. And got any comments, leave them in the comments section. I'm particularly interested to know anyone who's got the Classic Records versions of these, as well as these. I'd love to know what you think of this versus the Classic Records version. If you haven't got the 4x45 RPM version, let me know if you've got the UHQR 33 versus the Classic Records 33 RPM version. Anyway, Thank you very, very, very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.